The other thing I noticed was in my professional learning time with my teachers is there was a lot more chatter and discussion about actual student work. So, for instance, I would keep the first copy of how a child was doing, and they would bring the next copy after some instruction and practice with models, and we would see incredible difference in the work. And teachers would be so excited. And the other piece that was told me it was working was they started to self-annotate the children's work. I didn't ask them to do that. Teachers just automatically did. They started to notice, oh, that's doubling plus one. Oh, they've just learned to triple a number. Oh, they're using a number line. Oh, they recognize the magnitude of some numbers. These were things that they hadn't talked about in the past and was very present in the work, and teachers were excited. At Central Public School, we had a school improvement team which included the division leaders. So I had an very informal discussion with the school improvement team leaders and told them that I was going to approach teachers during the work to rule to see if we could gather some data, and that if they weren't able to do it themselves, then I would be happy to come and do it in their classroom. And they were very supportive of this, and I think that helped because I know that when they go back to the lunchroom or talk to their colleagues, they discuss what happened at the meetings, and they sort of primed the environment that this was going to happen. After that, we met in divisions, later in cross divisions, but at first in divisions, and we met just in my office, and I call it table discussions. So it was very informal. We had coffee, and we just started talking about kids' work, and then we did some professional learning on the different models, and the conversations deepened, and the teaching became better, and the evidence was present in the student work. So we had the school improvement team, but we also had those divisional teams. And in our school, we were a small school, we had grade partners. So there might only be 2 grade 4 or 5 teachers, but they would work together, and you could see the ideas of one teacher coming up in the other room, or the models with success coming up in the other room, or trying an open number line when they were learning about time would come up in one room, then you would see it sort of multiply down the hall. So I was also happy to see that they were teaching each other as we went through the improvement program. In our school, the division leader was sort of the lead for helping some of that learning happening, but I did have a coach. The coach was unfamiliar with some of the mathematical models, but what was wonderful is that the facilitator, the math facilitator, came to the school and learned with us about the professional learning piece that we were working on, and then she did some lunch and learns through the year, and teachers all came out for those pieces, which is not always the case. And she began to lead those, and she began to help them to see how the models connected with problem solving. So we did have that extra support as well. The principal is the lead for improvement in a school, but a principal cannot do this alone and needs a team to work with him or her. So the team, whether it's your school improvement team, whether it's division leaders, whether it's just those early adopters, those teachers who you know will bite early and who will show it in the halls and the classrooms and garner interest, those people have to be part of the school improvement process. But what is important is the focus has to be small enough so it's doable. It has to be something that will make big gains quickly, because teachers need to see that what they're doing is making a difference, or so they don't abandon it. They have many, many things to do. So if they are doing something and they see the work of the students showing evidence that this is working for kids, they will follow through. So there's also has to be the idea that you're not just willy-nilly trying different things. You're doing something very focused and purposeful, and then you're analyzing it together, and you're learning what you need to learn, and starting that cycle again. And that is my best advice. As a principal, I think there's a couple of key things that you need to do in order to move improvement forward. First is that you have to be seen as the leader, and that this is important to you. So this isn't just another board thing that we have to do. No, this is something that is good for kids. There's research to support that it works, and that you're on board to learn with your staff. So sort of developing that culture. The second thing I would say is that relationships with teachers are key, and being in their classrooms a lot to, first of all, support them, and also to ask them questions about their doing, or ask them for difficulties they're having, so that they feel supported, because you're asking them sort of to step off the cliff. We're going to step off the cliff, and we're going to go out and try this new thing, but they need to know that there's a parachute. And it's okay if they make mistakes, and that mistakes actually may become more learning for everybody, because then we can talk about what did or didn't work. I guess the third thing I would say is that hold staff accountable. And the accountability I look for is in the student work. So if the student work isn't changing, then the teaching hasn't changed. Because if the teaching changes, I have confidence students will learn, and if they learn, then we have our change. I believe if you're going to launch improvement of any kind, you first have to answer that question, why?